We'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrapatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Krishna Chaitanyam Ishwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravai Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. What we'll do today is we'll first finish the chapter summary of 1.5. That way we know what to expect in this chapter. And then I'll continue from verse 5 onwards. Because verses 1 to 4 was already done by Kirtida Sundari Mataji on Tuesday. So from verse number 5 of chapter 5, we will continue today. But before we proceed further, I will do a summary of the entire chapter. That way you get a bird eye view of what is there in this chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nishtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopah Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. 1.5 is Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyasadeva. So if you remember, the previous chapter was appearance of Narada. Narada comes to the place where Vyasadeva is, and now Narada gives instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyasadeva. So that is the chapter, and you have already heard the first 4 verses. So what happened was, in the previous chapter, Vyasadeva was contemplating why he was feeling so despondent. And when he was contemplating, he tried to analyze the problem and he thought, maybe I have not glorified the Lord enough. And that could be the reason why I am not happy. So while he was contemplating like this and doing a self-diagnosis, self-guided introspection, at that time his guru Narada Muni appeared on the scene. So this is what happened in the previous chapter. So now that Narada Muni had come to his ashram, Vyasadeva invited him, gave him a nice seat, offered Argyam, Padyam, Achamaniyam and all that, and gave him a comfortable seat and began to talk to, he was hoping that Narada would find out the reason why he was despondent. So now that Narada was comfortably seated, he began to address Vyasadeva with a smile, because obviously he is the guru. He knows what the real reason is why Vyasadeva was unhappy. So he hints, he says, are you satisfied by identifying the body and the mind to be the self? So actually it was a hint. It was a diagnosis to the problem itself. But also, Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva that despondency or dissatisfaction, unhappiness, all this happens only when you identify yourself with the mind and the body instead of identifying yourself with the spirit soul. So, on the onset, it looks like Narada is just telling this, but then there is a hidden hint. He's actually telling the problem that Vyasadeva was feeling, why he's unhappy, because all the literatures that he is overemphasizing so far is only about the mind and body, mostly about the mind and body. Enough inquiry is not being made about the Supreme. So it's a hint, okay? So he tells, see, Vyasadev, your enquiries and studies were complete. You have enough knowledge. In fact, you have written the greatest Mahabharat. In that Mahabharat, you have explained the conclusion of all Vedic instructions very elaborately in the form of stories. So, definitely, you have all the knowledge. You have composed this great work. Not only that, you also have realized knowledge because you have compiled the Vedanta Sutras. And in the Vedanta Sutras, there is the analysis of the Brahman. So it begins with Atatho Brahma Jignasam. So you know about realized knowledge as well. Not only do you have knowledge, you also have realized knowledge. So you are very well learned, but it appears that you are despondent for some reason. So that is when Vyasadev, he tells Narada that you are right. But I want to ask you, what is really the root cause of my dissatisfaction? Yes, I have all these qualifications. I have knowledge, I have realized knowledge, but then somehow I'm not satisfied with my work. So this happens to many of us. Sometimes we do a lot of things, but then there is some dissatisfaction in the heart. We feel incomplete. We feel that we have not done good enough. And that is when we try to analyze what is missing. And sometimes we reach out to the people that we have confidence in and we ask them, did I do this right? Is something missing in this? Can you give me some feedback? So, like that, Vyasadeva was telling that I ask you, I'm not able to find out the root cause of my dissatisfaction. So I'm asking you because you are Agadha Bodham. That means you are a person of unlimited knowledge. How is that possible? Because you're the direct son of Brahma. Brahma was directly born from the Lord and he got the knowledge from the Lord, and you are his son. So you have all the knowledge in the world. Okay, that is one qualification. Not only that, you also have other qualifications. What is it? You know everything that is secretive, everything that is mysterious. Vedam Sata Guhyam, you know all the Guhyam, all the secrets of knowledge. How do you know all this? Simply because you are worshipping the Supreme Lord, who is the original person. He is the controller of all material and spiritual worlds, and he is unattached to material modes. So you are worshipping that kind of Lord. So you know the secret of all secrets. So far, he said, you are the direct son of Brahma. So you have unlimited knowledge and you also know everything mysterious simply because you're a great worshipper of the Lord. And not only that, he tells Narada Muni, you're also like the sun. The sun can travel everywhere. The air, it can penetrate in every region. Similarly, you can also enter my heart and you can find out the deficiency in me just like the all-pervasive super soul and witness who is Atma Sakshi, the Supreme Lord. So you being the son of Brahma, you being the worshipper of the Supreme Lord and hence knowing everything mysterious, and you capable of traveling everywhere like the sun and the air and the super soul, you can easily detect the deficiency in me because I'm not able to find out the root cause of my unhappiness. So at that time, Narada Muni, he does the diagnosis of the problem. He says there are two defects in your work. Yes, you have composed Mahabharata, you have composed the Vedanta Sutras and so many Vedic literature. But then in all these Vedic literatures, there has been insufficient glorification of the Lord. You have not glorified the Lord sufficiently and repeatedly. Okay. And not only that, any philosophy that you put forward that is not satisfying the Lord's senses is practically worthless. So these are the two problems. One, you have not repeatedly and sufficiently glorified the Lord. And second, you have not given a philosophy that can satisfy the Lord's senses. So all the philosophy that you have presented is almost worthless. But then Vyasadeva may say, but I have described the Lord's qualities. You're telling I have not described the Lord's spotless glories enough. Yasho Bhagavato Amalam, I have not spoken about the Lord's glories, but I have spoken. There are so many Satvika Puranas, like the Padma Purana and others, where I have where I have glorified the Lord, he says. But then Narada Muni says, no, there is an overemphasis on the four Purusharthas in all the scriptures so far. So, though you're glorifying the Lord in some of the scriptures, still you have done an overemphasis of the four Purusharthas. What are the four Purusharthas? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You have described and given too much importance for Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and side by side you have here and there also glorified the Lord. So, if these works they are devoid of the Lord's glories and there is too much dharma, artha, kama, moksha, then such work has to be condemned. And he talks to Vyasadeva about two categories of Vedic literature. One is the materialistic literatures and the other is the transcendental literatures. So he says there are two types of literatures. One is the materialistic literatures, and these literatures, they are devoid of the Lord's glories. And though they can, they are not satisfying the heart. Okay, they are devoid of the Lord's glories and they are not satisfying to the heart. And such literatures are like the pilgrimage place for crows. So saintly people, they do not get any pleasure out of such literature. However, transcendental literatures that glorify the Lord are of a different kind, and they can create a revolution in the impious lives of a misdirected civilization. Actually, this is one of Srila Prabhupada's classic translations. We'll talk more about it when we get to that verse. The choice of words that Prabhupada uses is amazing. He says, such transcendental literature can create a revolution in the impious lives of a misdirected civilization. And this is his Samadhi Bhashya, like he's writing this. If you read the translation, you can understand how Prabhupada's mood is. How he is telling our situation. He's telling that the Srimad Bhagavatam is especially for us because we are the need of the hour. That's how Prabhupada begins the preface. We will also read the preface today because it's all connected to this chapter, the preface of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he says, transcendental literature can create a revolution in the impious lives of the misdirected civilization like it is today. And he says, even though such transcendental literature is imperfectly composed, it may not be in the perfect composition and literature rules and regulations. Abaddham, we say. Abaddham means not properly composed or not properly said. Even though they are imperfectly composed, they are heard, sung, and accepted by saintly people. Tad vak visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhaddhavatyapi. So even if it is abhaddham, still namani anantasya yasho ikitani yat shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhu. But still they are heard, sung, and grinanti, accepted by saintly people. So like this, Vedic literatures, you have written many Vedic literatures, okay? He tells Vyasadeva that there are two kinds of literatures. One is literature that is materialistic. The other is transcendental. Some of the Vedic literatures you have written are, of course, they are not any sort of mundane literature, but still they are condemned. Why? Because they are devoid of bhakti and they are not evoking transcendental realizations. So that is a problem. He says knowledge of self-realization, though free from material affinity, does not look well if devoid of bhakti. What to speak of fruitive activities that are painful from the beginning to end, if their results are not offered to the Lord. So whether you are we are giving overemphasis on karma or jnana, both is not very pleasing to the heart. Okay, self-realization free from material and affinity, if it is devoid of bhakti, such kind of literature is also condemned. So he tells Vyasadeva, you have great qualifications. You're a great author. So far what he has told is whatever you said is whatever you have composed, there are two defects. He's telling about the defects first as a guru. Now he's also glorifying the author. He says, actually, you have great qualifications. You're very fortunate. You're Mahabhaga. You have perfect vision, Amoghadrik. You have spotless fame, Shuchishrava. You're faithful, Satyarata. And you have firm vows, Dridhavrata. So you can think of the Lord's pastimes in a trance so that you can write something for the liberation of everyone. And remember, any descriptions disconnected from the Lord are considered insubstantial. They are not so worthwhile. So anything that you describe separate from the Lord is like a boat that is attacked by a wind. A boat that doesn't have a shelter when it is attacked by the wind, how it moves, like that, the person who's reading a literature that doesn't have enough glorification of the Lord, or that is describing a vision that is separate from the Lord, is like that boat that is stuck in the middle of an ocean and attacked by a wind. So he, like this, Narada Muni, he tells Vyasadeva that yes, you have described so many different Vedic literatures where you have overemphasized various paths like demigod worship, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and you've also spoken about bhakti. But what has happened in all this? You have simply confused the people in general. You have presented so many different paths, and that is a common question we are asked even today. Oh, you people, you talk about Vedic literature, but Vedic literature is so confusing. There are so many paths described. There are so many literatures glorifying so many demigods. There are so many literatures that glorify the impersonal Brahman. There are some literatures that talk about the personal form of the Lord. But what is really one path in your Vedic literature? It is very confusing, right? This is what Narada also pointed out to Vyasadeva. Narada pointed out this defect that he has emphasized the importance of describing so many different things, and he has forgotten to write a literature that describes the Lord alone. But then Vyasadev's argument will be, I have presented material happiness so that I can promote different scripture among different materialistic people who don't want bhakti. Why do we have so many varieties of Vedic literatures? Simply because people are of different kinds and they have different tastes and they have different inclinations. So to satisfy all these different people and gradually elevate them from wherever they are, from whichever position they are, to help them gradually elevate them, I have written this kind of literature. But then Narada Muni says, what has happened is still there is a problem. Yes, you have tried to address different kinds of audience, but then your instructions have been like, okay, you materially enjoy for the time being. So you're writing such literature, and by doing so, you have encouraged the natural enjoying tendency of the people. So they just accept so many activities in the name of religion and they are not caring for prohibitions. This is actually jugupsitam, meaning it is condemned. So all that you're doing is you're just nicely encouraging the natural tendency of enjoyment. People already have a tendency to enjoy. You're nicely encouraging that by giving them so many different literature where they can access all this enjoyment, and you're making them enjoy more and get more and more entangled. In the name of religion, they're doing all sorts of things without caring for prohibitions. So this is terribly condemned. You should not have done this. It is jugupsitam. And the problem with this is there are very few experts. Only an expert person who's retired from materialistic activity can understand this, the spiritual knowledge that is embedded in these different literatures that you have written. So what you need to do is, yes, definitely you have written about bhakti, you have written about the Lord, but you have not given enough focus. No, you have not put the focus light on it. But only an expert who's reading through all this Vedic literature can say, okay, Krishna is there everywhere in all the Vedic literature from the beginning to the end. Maybe one great Acharya can find out that Krishna is there from beginning to end, but not everybody. So therefore, you should explain it to the common people through the description of the Lord's activities. So that's why the Puranas is a description of the Lord's activities and his devotees, right? Especially the Bhagavatam, we're telling. Especially the Bhagavatam, it's very interesting. Bhagavatam is in fact not only descriptions of the Lord's activities, it is also the description of the Lord's devotees' activities. So that is what actually Vyasadeva ended up doing, because that's how we learn, we understand how to be a devotee. And then Narada Muni says, oh, see, the problem so far is that you have done this, your work is jugupsitam, it is detestable, it is condemned, but only an expert is able to understand the real meaning or the real goal that is secretly hidden in all your literatures. But remember, bhakti should be glorified sufficiently. And bhakti process is a very beautiful process because it is credited forever. That means there is no loss. We learn this even in the Bhagavad Gita. There is no loss even in fall down. So Narad Muni is telling, even if a person gives up all his occupational duties, all his varna and ashram, and he simply engages in bhakti and he happens to fall down. This happens to many people. We forget our duties, so-called mundane duties, and we engage only in bhakti. But then, even if we fall down in an immature stage, actually there is no danger of him being unsuccessful in bhakti. Once the bhakti process is started, there is a sure shot success. There may be many slips and falls, but then a person gets up and keeps walking in the path of bhakti. On the other hand, a non-devotee, although perfect in executing his dharma, is not truly gaining anything. He's not gaining anything eternal. So you better endeavor to write about the rarest. Intelligent people should endeavor only for that which is not obtainable by wandering from Brahmaloka to Patala Loka, something that is beyond this material world. And in fact, the sense enjoyment that you have nicely encouraged in all your scriptures, that can be automatically obtained in course of time, because we see that we are not desiring miseries, but we are automatically getting miseries. Similarly, we are not desiring enjoyment, but we are automatically getting enjoyment. So it is a process, right? Automatically desires and enjoyment miseries and enjoyment, what did I say? Automatically, miseries and enjoyment are automatic in this world. You don't desire to get it, but it just keeps coming. Just like how you don't desire to get a misery, still it comes. Actually, the same thing was mentioned by Prahlad Maharaj later in the seventh canto. We read the same thing when he instructs his classmates. He tells the same thing. Are we looking forward to getting miseries? No, it automatically comes. Similarly, sense enjoyment also automatically comes. So even Narad Muni is saying the exact same thing that his student Prahlad Muni later tells. So he says, sense enjoyment can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries without desire. But however, the results of bhakti, they are permanent. So even if a devotee falls down, he will not lose the taste for the lotus feet of Mukunda. The Lord will make him remember him again and again. So this Krishna consciousness is one-way traffic. Bhakti is a one-way traffic. Once you are in the trap, you're in the trap. So there is even if you fall down, it's okay. You will spring up and you will come back, because Mukunda's lotus feet is so relishable. A devotee who has once relished the taste of Mukunda's lotus feet will remember that ecstasy again and again. Yeah, so he says about the Lord to whom you should be doing bhakti. He is the Lord of the universe. He is the creator of this universe, yet he is aloof from it, just like we read in the Bhagavad Gita. He creates, maintains, and destroys it. And you know all this, he's telling him. Of course, he's written this in the Mahabharata as the part of Bhagavad Gita. And he says, I have only given a synopsis of bhakti and the knowledge of that Lord's power. Now you expand it. So this is the root verse that he tells Vyasdev, and later Vyasdev meditates on the Lord and his internal and external energy, and then he is able to put together the Bhagavatam. Okay, so he tells him, you describe the Lord's pastimes more vividly. You have this perfect vision, and you know who the Lord is. Being a plenary portion of the Lord, you know very well about the Lord, and you know that the Lord and also you have appeared for the well-being of the people. That is the very reason of your appearance, for the welfare of the people. So why don't you go ahead and describe the Lord's pastimes very, very vividly? And then he tells, it is the conclusion of the learned circles that the infallible purpose of everyone's austerity, Vedic study, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, knowledge, and charity should culminate in what? Should culminate in glorifying the qualities of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so basically, whether you're doing austerity or any other process, the ultimate aim should be to glorify the Supreme Lord. Now, to illustrate the glory of Bhakti, Narada Muni doesn't leave it there. Sometimes we just, if someone seeks our advice, we just give our advice saying you should do this, period, and then the session is over. But then a good preacher is one who shows by example. He tells his own example. He tells what realizations he had in his life. Okay, how I came to this understanding that bhakti is everything. So for that, Narada Muni, he begins to tell the story of his own life. He says, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of the maid servant, and I was engaged in the service of the Bhakti Vedantas, great devotees, during the Chaturmas season, during the rainy season. And also there is a note that before this birth, before he became the son of a Shudra, he was actually a Gandharva by the name Upabarhana. And he was singing some nice filmy music, and it was very offensive. Instead of glorifying the Lord, he was singing some frivolous sankirtan, not really sankirtan, but he was doing some kirtan of something else, and therefore he was cursed by the Prajapatis to become a Shudra, and that's how he takes the birth as in the womb of a Shudra woman. But however, he had the great fortune of being in the service of the Bhakti Vedantas during the Chaturmas. And in the second chapter, we went through the 14 stages of bhakti, as mentioned by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, starting with Satam Kripa, and we were trying to identify the different stages as we were going through. So in the life of Narada Muni also, he went through all these 14 stages. So the 14 stages are first in verses 24, 25, and 26. Actually, these 14 stages are covered. So Satam Kripa Mahatseva Shraddha Gurupadashraya, that is covered in verse number 24, and where Narada Muni, he explains that these Bhakti Vedantas whom I was serving, they bestowed their mercy on me. Though I was a boy, a young boy, I had given up all these childish sports and I was very obedient. I was not naughty and talkative. And the Bhakti Vedantas, they just, by their mercy, they just wanted to give their causeless mercy on me. So that one step is described, I mean, that four steps, sorry. Satam Kripa, Mahatseva, Shraddha, Gurupadashraya is described in this one verse of 24. Then the next few stages, Bhajaneshu Spriha, Bhakti, Anartha Pagama, and Nishta and Ruchi. That is described in verse number 25, where Narada Muni says, then later, just by their mercy, once I took their remnants with their permission, and then my sins were eradicated. And then I developed an inclination for bhakti, and I developed taste for hearing and chanting. So like this, he says how he started progressing. And then in verse number 26, he says, with Asakti, I attentively heard Krishna Katha every day by their mercy, and my taste for hearing increased in every step, and I developed Rati or Bhav for Krishna. So he says that he developed Asakti and Bhava, and then he heard the Lord's pure glories from the Bhakti Vedantas, and finally he developed Prema, that in fact destroyed all the Rajogun and Tamogun. So like this, he went through 12 different stages, but then there are 14 stages, right? Which is Harir Madhurya Anubhava and Darshanam, and then Harir Madhurya Anubhavam. So this happens later in chapter number 6, when Vyasadeva asks him to tell further. That is when he tells the final two stages. So anyway, the point is, the sages, they bestowed the most confidential knowledge on Narada. Narada went through all these stages and he became a devotee. He had first-hand experience of bhakti. So that confidential knowledge, that bhakti was given by the sages. Narada says, I was very attached to these Bhakti Vedantas, and they were very kind to me. When they were about to depart, at that time, they instructed this most important knowledge which is pure devotional service. By that knowledge and by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, I could understand who really Krishna is. Okay, so he tells the secret is bhakti. Okay, the topmost gift that a person can get is bhakti. How do you get bhakti? Through the mercy of devotees, and I was a recipient of that confidential knowledge. Then he tells about, first and foremost thing, he tells a little bit about the process of karma. So he tells Vyasadeva that generally learned people, they tell the best remedial measure for removing all the miseries in one's life is to dedicate one's activities in the Lord's service. But then a question may be raised. If you're continuing to do activities, how is it that that activity which is entangling you in samsara, destroying the cycle of samsara? How can it destroy the threefold miseries if you're just doing karma, if you're just doing activity? So that is when Narada Muni says, yes, you are doing your activities, but then you have to dedicate it in the service of Krishna. Just like when a thing is applied therapeutically, it cures a disease which was caused by the same thing. Similarly, activities karma that ordinarily cause perpetual bondage, when dedicated to the Lord's service, destroy the tree of work. Okay, so he's just like here, Prabhupada gives the example of milk and buttermilk. Sometimes excessive milk can result in stomach upset. But then the cure is another form of milk, which is buttermilk. So karma can entangle you in this world, but the same karma, when it is directed in the Lord's service, it will destroy the tree of karma. So whatever work is done for the Lord's satisfaction, what is it called? It is called as bhakti. And what is called as knowledge becomes a concomitant factor. So basically, he's telling if you do bhakti, then it is more than enough. Even jnana and everything else is only a concomitant factor. So, karma or work that is done for the satisfaction of the Lord will purify the performer from all sorts of material affection, and it will even lead to the attainment of spiritual knowledge endowed with bhakti. So, the final thing is also bhakti only. Bhakti will result in bhakti, but there are also other concomitant factors like jnana along with it. But then other kinds of just practice of jnana or just practice of Ashtanga yoga cannot, if it is devoid of bhakti, it cannot even offer salvation. Even to get liberated and attain the Brahma Jyoti, one has to have an element of bhakti. Without bhakti, the other processes, they do not even stand a chance. So, while performing duties according to the order of Krishna, one constantly remembers him, his name, and his qualities. So, when you are dovetailing your activities, like Prabhupada says, in the service of Krishna, what are you doing? You're constantly chanting and glorifying the Supreme Lord, and you are remembering the Supreme Lord. So, that process itself blossoms into bhakti, pure devotion, and that leads to perfection. So then Narada Muni, he teaches him his own mantra. This is the mantra, Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumna Anuruddhaya Nama Shankarsanaya Cha. So he tells, let's chant the glories of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Shankarsana. So he says, this mantra, the Lord is Mantra Murti. You can worship him in the form of mantra, and he tells his own personal experience. He says that because I had executed these confidential instructions that were given by the Bhakti Vedantas, eventually Lord Krishna, he bestowed upon me transcendental knowledge. He bestowed upon me all the opulences and ultimately his loving devotional service as well. So I progressed gradually and I even got his intimate loving devotional service. So in conclusion, Narada Muni is advising Vyasadeva, please describe the glories of the Supreme Lord because they are the only things that will satisfy the hankerings of all the people and it will mitigate the miseries of the common people. It is going to satisfy the hankerings of the learned people and mitigate the miseries of the common people. And there is no other way to get out of miseries. See, what was the root cause of Vyasadev's despondency? Narada Muni came and told that you are unnecessarily identifying with the body and mind. That is the root cause of all misery. So, if we are continuously talking about body and mind and just encouraging dharma, artha, kama, moksha, what is the use? So, we should constantly glorify the Lord, which is transcendental, which is beyond the modes. Only that can satisfy the hankerings of the learned people, because the learned people, they want to learn more and more, but they are never satisfied. These jnanis, they are never satisfied. They are never able to understand the intricacies of what is presented in the Vedic literature. But then only if we take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord by chanting his glories and trying to know him, only then we will truly be satisfied. And people are continuously in misery in this world, right? Conditioned people, we say. So if the common people have to get rid of miseries also, we have to constantly hear, chant, and accept something that is transcendental, which is nothing but the glories of the Lord. Okay, so with that, this chapter ends. And then in the next chapter, again, Vyasadeva asks about what happened later. And that is when he talks about the remaining two stages, how he progressed later, how his mother died, and so on. And then he attained perfection. So it was a long summary, but now I'll start the verses. I hope the summary was useful. We'll go to the verses, verse by verse. Verse number 5. I don't know how much we can finish today, but let's see. Verse number 5. Vyasa uvacha अस्त्येव मे सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तं तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधभो पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम्. Translation, someone?
Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Vasudeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not purified. I therefore
Yes.
question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of one Brahma who is self born without mundane father and mother. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Vyasadeva is telling all that you have said about me is perfectly right. What did Narada tell about Vyasadeva so far? Do you remember, Prabhu? Anyone can tell? In the first 3-4 verses, what did Narada tell about Vyasadeva?
He was glorifying Vyasadeva, right, Mataji? He was saying that you have written
Yes,
really good work, and though you have done for impersonal, you have given, you have talked about impersonalization, but you talked about liberation also. All that was really good work, and yeah, he was
yes,
praising
Prabhu.
Vyasadeva for whatever work he has done, Mataji.
Fantastic. Yes, Prabhu. That's right. So Narada Muni was praising Vyasadeva. He said, you have both knowledge and realized knowledge. Huh? So Vyasdev was saying, yeah, I have all that. That is right. But in spite of all that, I'm not pacified. Despite all this, I'm simply not pacified. And I'm not able to understand what's really happening. Of course, he had a guess what it could be, but he wanted confirmation. So now that his guru has come, he says, I therefore question you about the root cause, tan moolam. What moolam means the root. I want to question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. Why? Why am I asking you? Because you are the man of unlimited knowledge, Agada Bodham, and you are Atma Bhava Atma Bhutam. Atma Bhava means one who's born from the Supreme Lord. Atma Bhava, self-born, or Aja. Aja is Atma Bhava, and that is none other than Brahma. Brahma is called as Atma Bhava. Atma is the Supreme Lord. So he's born directly from the Supreme Lord. And Narada Muni is Atma Bhutam. He is born from Brahma, who's Atma Bhava. Okay. So he said, Atma Bhava, Atma Bhutam. You are the offspring of Brahmaji himself. And this Brahma, he was self-born without a mundane mother and father, and you're his offspring. So you have all the knowledge. You're a man of unlimited knowledge, and you can definitely detect what my problem is. So now Prabhupada, in the purport, he tells our actual position in this material world. In this material world, we are all simply identifying with the mind and body, and we are thinking that is the self. Because of that, there is a lot of problem. There is a lot of misery. As such, all the knowledge disseminated in the material world is related either with the body or the mind. Because we are constantly identifying with the body and mind, all the literature and knowledge that is given in this world is also about the body and the mind. And it is not clearing up any problem. This material knowledge is really not clearing up the root cause of all miseries, the root cause of all despondencies. A person cannot be truly happy if he's simply hovering in the mundane platform of body and mind. If one needs true happiness, one should take to Krishna consciousness. That is the only way. There is no other way. So, this is not always detected, even though one may be the greatest erudite scholar in materialistic knowledge. It is good, therefore, to approach a personality like Narada to solve the root cause of all despondencies. So that's what Prabhupada says. If we really want true knowledge, tad vijnanartham sa gurumeva abhigachet. You should go to a guru who's samutpanim shrotriyam brahmanishtam. A guru who's fixed in the absolute truth. That kind of guru you should go to. So Vyasadeva says, I can only ask you, you have to tell me the root cause of my problem. Not only is Narada very well learned, and he is the direct son of Brahma, but he has other characteristics as well. So that is what is being told in verse number 6. स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराण परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यव avatti attirgunars asanga. Translation, someone?
My Lord, everything that is
Everything.
My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature.
So, not only is Narada Muni the direct son of Brahma and he has unlimited knowledge, he is also the worshipper of the Supreme Lord. And who is the Supreme Lord? He is the Supreme Lord who is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of all the three worlds, and he's above the three modes of material nature. Hence, because he is worshipping this kind of Supreme Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to him. Everything that is Guhyam is automatically known to Narada Muni because he is worshipping the Lord who is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer, who's above the three gunas and who's asangaha. That means he's totally detached. Okay, these are the qualities of the Lord. So a person who's worshipping such a Lord will definitely be the greatest emblem of all knowledge. That's what Prabhupada is telling. A person who's 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is an emblem of all knowledge. It's natural if he's fully focused in the service of the Supreme Lord. So he's in the full perfection of his devotional service. And because of that, he has become perfect. And a devotee automatically attains all the siddhis. He is able to know everything that is mysterious. Because he's a devotee, he's attained eightfold mystic perfections. And he's as good as the Lord. Of course, he's not directly the Lord. That's what Prabhupada says. Sri Narada is a sent person, perfect living being, although not equal to the personality of Godhead. But then he's a direct representative of the Lord. So Narada, with his spiritual perfection, he can understand all the mysterious things that is there in the heart of Vyasadeva. So text 7, he continues to tell further qualities of Narada Muni. Tam paryatannarka iva triloki mantascharo vayurivatma sakshi परावरे ब्रह्मणि धर्मतो व्रतैः स्नातस्य मेन्यो नमलं विचिक्षव. Translation.
Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal reason of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive supersoul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulation and vows. Hare Krishna.
So he glorifies Narada Muni, how he is all pervasive, meaning he can go into Vyasadev's heart and find out what the problem is. So he says, you are like the sun, you are like the air, and you are like the super soul who knows everything, who's all pervasive. So you can find the deficiency in me. And despite, he says, I know I've gone through all these different disciplinary regulations. Like I've done pious activities, I've worshipped deities, I've done charity, I've been merciful, non-violence. I have done all this. All this is very helpful. But then I want to know what really is the problem with me. Yes, all these are great qualities, but there is something missing. And I want you to find out what is it that is missing. Okay. So then Sri Narada Uvacha, Narada begins to answer. He now does the expert diagnosis. He said, Sri Narada Uvacha Bhavatad Anudita Paryam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yenaiva Sauna Santush. Sorry, Vimal, wait, let me finish this, Prabhu. Yenaiva Sunatushdeya Manyeta Darshanam Khilam. Vimal Prabhu, you want to read the translation and then you can ask your question.
Sure, Mataji. Translation of Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. Hare Krishna. So, Mataji, my question is, when Dhruv Maharaj was going to the jungle, Narad Muni appeared, and as per my understanding, that was basically sent by Lord only that go and mentor Dhruv Maharaj and see his determination, right? So, can we understand same thing has happened here as well, Mataji?
Why not? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Everything is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord only.
So,
Even the
Supreme Lord
Guru
again
comes to
send,
sanctioned by the
Supreme Lord
Supreme
again
Lord.
send Narad Muni to go and then find out, and it's basically guide Vyasadeva, right? That's what.
Definitely, because he's the Paramatma in everyone's heart. Why not? Yeah.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you.
Though it's not explicitly mentioned, but
Correct.
but what you said is correct, because ultimately the Paramatma, even when a guru comes and gives a particular knowledge or speaks something to the disciple, one should understand it is by the prompt of the Paramatma. Okay. Because the Paramatma is constantly inspiring the guru to speak to the disciple and the disciple to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Yes, Padmini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, one small clarification. Narada Muni is son of Brahmaji, but he was born as a Gandharva, because we also see that he is a Gandharva. And then we just know you gave a beautiful description of these things. But is he, when he was born as a Gandharva, or I don't know, son means what exactly it means?
So, Narada Muni, in his third birth, he was born as the son of Brahma. Okay. Third birth means as far as we know, maybe he had many births before that, we don't know. In scriptures, 3 births are mentioned. In the first, he was born, as far as we know, how much we can trace. One birth was that he was born as a Gandharva by the name Upabarhana, and he was singing some materialistic songs, and he got cursed by the Prajapatis to become the son of a Shudra. And he was born from the womb of a Shudra woman, but just by the mercy of Bhakti Vedantas, he got that is, he could see the Supreme Lord face to face. Harer Madhurya Anubhavam, he went till that point. And in the next chapter, that will be described how he sees the Lord face to face and the Lord vanishes. He says, in this birth, only so much for you, quota over. But in the next birth, you'll be born as Narada, who's my eternal associate. So the third birth is what is happening now that we are talking about.
So we will not be able to trace his earlier birth.
Maybe
Thank
some
you,
scripture
Mataji.
has.
Yeah, because when you were describing that beautiful verses, I was thinking, yes, he's son of Brahmaji, then was he a Gandharva born or what it is? So thank you, Mataji.
And Mataji, just now, can you read the translation?
Yes, Mataji. Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of the Godhead. The philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless.
So what are the 2 points, Mataji? 2 points of diagnosis of Narada Muni?
One is there is whatever he has described is not continuously, he is not described about the Lord's glories. The second one is it is not pinpointing to the actual the bhakti component of the what is required. Is more about the materialistic thing. He is not pinpointing the bhakti, nor does he continuously talk about bhakti, is what my understanding is.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Thank you. So purport, let's see what Prabhupada says. So Prabhupada says, actually, there is an eternal relationship between the living entity and the Lord. We are the servant and Krishna is the master. Jivera Swarapaya, Krishnera Nityadas. So the Lord, this is so nice, right? See, I want to highlight this section. It's very sweet. Prabhupada says, the Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving services from them, and this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetanavunam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. Right? I think that is an Upanishad verse. That one became many. That eternal one, he became many. But why did he become many? Because that way he can be happy. So we are also the Lord's energy. We are the Tatastha Shakti. There is Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. So that one Lord became many. Of course, we are simultaneously one and different from the Lord. There is, what is that? Vibhinna. Yeah, we are Vibhinna Shakti. That is, we are not as same as Krishna, but we are different from him. Vibhinnamsha, that's how our identity is. So the Lord has expanded himself as the living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. So if the Lord wants to be happy also, he needs the living beings. If the living beings want to be happy also, we should be in connection with the Lord. Okay, the energy and the energetic should always be in connection with each other. Otherwise, there's no meaning. So now, such a scholar like Vyasadeva, he has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Brahma Sutras, which is the Vedanta philosophy, but none of them have directly glorified the Supreme Lord. And this dry philosophical speculation, oh dear, what did I do? I think I did something crazy. Right? Is it visible now?
Yeah, Mataji, earlier also it was visible.
It was visible. Okay, for me it was not visible. Okay. So these dry philosophical speculations, they didn't, of the Vedanta Sutras and so many other scriptures did not have direct glorification of the Lord. But however, we should understand that the ultimate, the last word in all Vedic literatures is about the Supreme Personality of God. And even Krishna says that Vedaischa sarver ahameva vedya vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham. So if you're reading all these Vedas and the Vedanta Sutras and everything, the final word is the Supreme Lord. Though the Lord is seen in different, there are 3 levels of realization, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, three levels of realization are there. Still, the topmost realization is the personal form of the Lord. So the compiler of this Vedanta Sutras is very, very troubled. He's the author. He's written all this. He's written so many different scriptures and he's very troubled and he's not happy. If he is not happy, he himself, the author itself is not satisfied, then how will the readers be satisfied? what kind of satisfaction will be there for the readers, right? And that's why Narada Muni is telling him that you should write the Srimad Bhagavatam. The same author who has written all this and glorified the impersonal Brahman, glorified Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, you write a literature now with full satisfaction. With full satisfaction, write the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then the readers who are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam will actually be satisfied. So the problem so far is that you have not broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the Lord. And secondly, you have not given the philosophy that will satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord and will also satisfy the transcendental senses of the, not transcendental, blunt senses of the living entities. Of course, when you're in connection with Krishna, everything is transcendental. Okay, so the philosophy should satisfy the Lord's senses, then it satisfies our senses also, because we are eternally parts and parcels of the Lord. And unless constant glorification of the Lord is done, there is the question of feeling bliss or happiness. It is not there. So he's telling Vyasadeva, first you feel happy. First you write a literature by which you will be happy. And then automatically the people around you who are reading that literature will also become happy. Okay. So Narada has done the diagnosis. Now let's see what else Narada Muni said. Narada Muni, he says, Yatha dharmadhyayascharta muni varyanu kirtita na tata vasudevasya mahimahi anuvarnita. Translation in one.
Although great sage, you have very broadly described the four principles, beginning with religious performances. You have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality, Vasudev. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So now he tells, you have given many Vedic literatures like the Padma Purana and others. Yes, you have glorified the Lord. We are not denying it. But then you have given too much emphasis. You're continuously talking about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha all the time, giving focus about that. And you have not sufficiently described the glories of Lord Vasudeva. So Prabhupada is telling this is the prompt diagnosis of Sri Narada Dev. He has automatically declared, immediately he declared, see, the root cause of the despondency of you, Vyasadeva, is the deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in the various editions of Puranas. Yes, you have written Satvika Purana, Rajasa Purana, Tamasa Purana, but then how much have you glorified the Lord even in the Satvik Puranas, like Padma Purana and others? How much have you glorified him? He has certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions of the glories of Krishna, but not as many as he has given to religiosity, economic development, and gratification and salvation. More focus is there and less focus is on the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And Narada Muni is telling these four items, this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, they are very inferior to devotional service. So you should know the difference between the two. And of course, Vyasadeva is a great scholar. He knows the difference between the two. He knows how much importance should be given for devotional service to the Lord, how much the Lord should be glorified. Instead, he has used his valuable time in glorifying this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So, and also Prabhupada says that from this it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially without being engaged in devotional service. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has also told this very clearly. He has told ultimately the focus should be on bhakti. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, I think is that the words. After liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, one is engaged in pure devotional service. This stage is called a self-realization or Brahma Bhuta stage. Anyone wants to tell that full verse? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma? No, is that?
Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na soshati na kankshati sama sarvetu sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param.
Mad bhaktim labate param. Yes, so bhakti is much greater. The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of Brahma Bhuta stage, as also to increase the degree of transcendental realization, Narada recommends Vyasadeva he should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. Now that will be the cure for his despondency. So unless he glorifies the Lord, he is not going to feel happy at all. Okay. So that was the diagnosis given by Narada Muni. Now he talks about two kinds of literature. So he said, yes, you have composed a lot of literature, but focus is not good enough. You should focus on bhakti, instead you focused on too many other things. Now he talks about the two kinds of literature in this world. One is the mundane literature, the other is the transcendental literature. Of course, Vyasadeva has written transcendental literature only, but even in the transcendental literature, he did not give the right focus. That is what Narada wants to say. But first, he talks about the pilgrimage for the crows. That is what he says first. Vayasatirtham. So let's see about mundane literature. These two verses are interesting. I think it's there for memorization, if I'm not wrong. And we can take turns. Maybe 2 or 3 of you can chant this verse, and then 2 or 3 of you can chant the next verse. It's for memorization. And these two are beautiful comparison, very long purports, very beautiful purports. And we'll also read the preface where Prabhupada talks about himself. Okay. So anyone wants to take a try before I read? Anyone else wants to read this verse? Or I can read once, and then one of you can read. Want to raise hand? न यद्वचश्चित्रपदं हरेर्यशो जगत्पवित्रं प्रगृणीत कर्हिचित् तद्वायसं तीर्थमुशन्ति मानसा न यत्र हंसा निरमन्त्युशिक्षया. Anyone? Yes, Madhuramai Mataji, and then Sankari Kaur Mataji. And then the others can take the next one. Yeah. Madhuramai Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvra. न यद्वचश्चित्रपदं हरेर्यशो जगत्पवित्रं प्रगणितकर्हिचित् तद्वायसं तीर्थमुशन्ति मानसा न यत्र हंसा निरमन्ति उशीक्षयः.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mataji. Sankari Kaur Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my respectful obeisances. My pranams to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. न यद्वचश्चित्रपदं हरेर्यशो जगत्पवित्रं प्रगृणीत कर्हिचित् तद्वायसं तीर्थमुशन्ति मानसा न यत्र हंसा निरमन्त्युशिक्षयाः.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can anyone read the translation, please?
I can read, Mataji.
Thank you.
Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there.
So nice, right? So basically, those who are saintly people, they are always inhabitants of the transcendental abode. They don't like to hear anything that does not describe the glory of the Lord. They know that only words that describe the glory of the Lord can sanctify the whole universe. So such saintly people, they do not like to hear literature that is a place for pilgrimage for crows, meaning mundane literature. They are not interested in hearing mundane literature, which is like a place of pilgrimage for crows. So there are two kinds of birds. So why crows, right? So that is the question here. Place of pilgrimage of crows. So there are two kinds of crows. There are two kinds of birds. One set is the crows and the other is the swans. So Prabhupada says in the purport, crows and swans are not birds of the same feather. Why? Because they have different attitudes. The fruit workers, who are very, very passionate, they are compared to crows. But the saintly people, they are compared to the swans. So now the fruit workers and the passionate people have one kind of attitude, and the saintly people, they have a totally different kind of attitude. The saintly people are like swans. They can separate milk from water. But what does a crow do? A crow doesn't care. When there is garbage thrown out, the crow will go and peck on that garbage and try to find something to eat, even in garbage. But the swans, do you see swans around garbage? No, you will never see swans around garbage. They'll be in the clear waters of the Manasa Sarovar. So that kind of environment is what the swans want. Prabhupada says the crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women. So this wine and women, they are for gross sense pleasure. It is like garbage that is thrown out. Swans, the Paramahamsas, the great sannyasis and the great exalted personalities, they don't like to take pleasure in such places where the crows are assembled for their kaka meeting. They are all having a meeting there. The swans are not at all interested in such conferences and meetings. But where are they seen? They are seen in beautiful atmospheres, where there is scenic beauty, where there is transparent reservoirs of water, nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers and colored with natural beauty. This is the difference between the two birds. Actually, it is also, we read in the Bhagavad Gita also, it is the way Mother Nature has influenced different species. The modes of material nature is constantly working on us. And depending on the species that we take birth in, we act with certain mentalities, of course. And it is not easy for the crow to become a swan or the swan to become a crow. Similarly, there are different kinds of literatures and different kinds of men relishing different kinds of literatures. So all the market literature that we get, all the newspapers, all this, they are all attracting the crow-like mentality, people with crow-like mentality. And what is contained in it, it is all the magazines and all this, it is full of sensuous topics, all the mundane literature that we see. And it is all about the gross body and the mind. And they have decorative language. Sometimes you see the kind of language that is presented. It is so beautiful. There are similes and metaphorical arrangements. And yet with all that, they are not glorifying the Lord. So even if a literature has a lot of similes and lot of beautiful prose and poetry, still, if it is not glorifying the Lord, then such decorations are only considered to be like the decorations on a dead body. What is the use of decorations on a dead body? A dead body doesn't have the spirit soul that is actually lighting up the body, right? Just putting some gold ornaments is not going to make the body look attractive. Only when the spirit soul is there inside, it is going to look attractive. So this kind of beautiful poetry and nice similes and all that in mundane literature is not at all beautiful, because it is not giving true happiness to the soul. But however, spiritually advanced men, they are like the swans. They don't take pleasure in dead literatures, because these literatures are spiritually dead. There is nothing much for them to look for, because all that it is talking about is things in the mode of passion and ignorance. And Prabhupada is telling they're all distributed under different labels, but they can hardly help the satisfy the spiritual urge of the human being. But however, spiritually advanced men are called as Manasa, because they only engage themselves in literatures that are describing the Supreme Lord. So social, literary men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are like dolls in material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Sridhara, this is a pleasure place for prostitute hunters. Okay, so that kind of places where this mundane world is throwing out different kinds of information. But then literatures that are describing the Lord are enjoyed by the true great personalities like the Paramahamsas. So one kind of literature is mundane literature, which is a place of pilgrimage for crows. And what kind of literature is there? It might look very pretty, very nice, presented very nice, but the real stuff is missing in that. That is mundane literatures. The Vayasa Tirtha. Vayasa means crow. The Tirtha means a place of pilgrimage. So that was the first verse. Now, what is the other kind of literature? That is in text number 11. So I will try to chant this, and then two people can raise hand and also chant. तद्वाक् विसर्गो जनताघविप्लवो यस्मिन् प्रतिश्लोकमबद्धवत्यपि नामानि अनन्तस्य यशो अङ्कितानि यत् शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधव. Prahladananda.
This is look, I can sing in a tune which is devotional tune, or this commercial tune. Tadvag visargo janataga yasmin prati shlokam abaddavatyapi namanyanantasya yasho ankitani yat srunvanti gayanti grunanti sadhava. Hari Bol Mata.
That's very nice, Prabhu. Actually, I thought that was easy for memorizing also. Thank you. Yes, Lalita Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. तत्वाग् विसर्गो जनताग विप्लवो यस्मिन् प्रतिश्लोकम् अबधवति अपि. Is it Mataji? Abadhavati api. Namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava.
Thank you so much. Nisha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I want to try. I don't know if I'll be able to.
We are all trying, Mataji, please.
I'm going to try Prabhu's tune. Tadvag visargo janataga viplava yasmin prati shlokam abadhavati api namani anantasya yasonkitani yat shranvanti gayanti grananti sadhavaha.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to read the translation?
Can I read Mataji?
Yes, please.
Okay, I can read. Hare Krishna. Translation. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yes. So, Indu Mataji, can you tell me something, some qualities of this literature that is mentioned here? Positive, and what else is mentioned about the literature?
Okay. One is it talks about the glories of the Lord, his name, his fame, his pastimes, and his form also. And it talks about even if it is imperfectly composed, even then it will be heard and accepted by all the devotees of the Lord.
Very nice. So two things she mentioned. One is it sings the glories of the Lord's name, form, pastimes, etc. These transcendental literature. And she mentioned even if these transcendental literatures are imperfectly composed, it is not rejected. What is happening? It is heard, it is sung, and it is accepted not by any ordinary men, by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Sadhavaha. And you see this, actually, if you look at the word-to-word meaning, it's interesting how Prabhupada writes his translations just to create that impact in our hearts. Okay, so here we say tat, that, vak, vocabulary, visarga, creation, janata, people in general, agha, viplava, since, agha is since, viplava is creating a revolution, yasmin pratishlokam abadhavati api. Okay, so even though there are abhaddam, that is, it is not properly composed. Okay, but then look at the word that Prabhupada has chosen to use. He says, these are full of transcendental words. It is directed not towards the people who have some sin, revolution for people who are just having some sin in their heart. The way Prabhupada writes is, it is full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. That's what he writes. It's so beautiful. Actually, this is so connected with the preface. So I wanted to open the preface and show you how Prabhupada has composed the preface as well. So in the preface, Prabhupada says, we must know the present need of human society. What is the present need of human society? What does it need? Human society is no longer bound by geographical limits to particular countries or communities. Human society is broader than the Middle Ages, and the world tendency is toward one state or one human society. The ideals of spiritual communism, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, are based more or less on the oneness of the entire human society, nay, of the entire energy of living beings. This need is felt by great thinkers to make this a successful ideology. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need in human society. It begins, therefore, with an aphorism of Vedanta philosophy, Janmadhyasya Yataha, to establish the ideal of a common cause. So there is a need for human society, and we need a common cause. Okay, the present situation in this world, human society at the present moment, is not in the darkness of oblivion. It has made rapid progress in the fields of material comforts, education, and economic development throughout the world. But there is a pinprick somewhere in the social body at large, and therefore there are large-scale quarrels. The misdirected civilization Prabhupada is talking about. There are large-scale quarrels even over less important issues. There is a need of a clue as to how humanity can come together in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause, and the Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the light for this misdirected civilization, for it is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. And Prabhupada, of course, says Bhagavatam should be introduced even in school time, just like how Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaumara Acharit Pragnyo. And then towards the end, Srila Prabhupada, he says, so beautiful, just see this, Prabhupada says, I must admit my frailties in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam, but still I'm hopeful of its good reception by the thinkers and leaders of the society on the strength of the following statement of Srimad Bhagavatam that we just read, Tat Vag Visargo Janathaga Viplavo. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, form, pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a transcendental creation meant for bringing about a revolution in the impious life of a misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though irregularly composed, Prabhupada is telling for himself. Now, Prabhupada is a scholar par excellence. He has translated so many books that no other human being could ever think of. And he's telling such transcendental literature, talking for himself in the preface, he says, such transcendental literature, even though irregularly composed, is heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Om Tat Sat Bhaktivedanta Swami. He quotes this verse and he says, I must admit my flaws in presenting the Srimad Bhagavatam, but I'm still hopeful of its good reception. So it's actually a very beautiful verse, and we can understand the value of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, Bhagavatam is admitting, yeah, it's okay. I mean, there could be some flaws. Maybe it's not great poetry. Some meters are gone off. But how does it matter as long as the content is spiritually perfect? So that's what Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva also. There are two kinds of literature. One is the mundane literature, and the other is the transcendental literature. Transcendental literature, maybe you don't have enough similes and metaphorical, analogies or whatever. But still, it is going to create a revolution in the impious lives of the misdirected civilization. This is Prabhupada's choice of words. And it's so relevant even in this time and age. Okay. So we'll do the purport, and I don't think we can move ahead after this. What verse are we on? Let me check. 11. Okay, I thought I'll do till 15, but I couldn't. So let's do 11 instead. Okay, Prabhupada says, great thinkers, Prabhupada is telling, they should learn to pick up, great thinkers, what they do is they pick up the best even from the worst. This is the nature of great thinkers. And he gives some examples. He says, intelligent men, they can pick up nectar from poison. They can accept gold from a filthy place. They should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family. And they should accept a good lesson even from a man or a teacher who comes from the family of untouchables. Okay, so that is being intelligent. If you're intelligent enough, even if you see a stockpile of dirt, you can pick up gold like that. Just like another analogy comes in the Bhagavatam, that a bee goes and picks up nectar from all the flowers. Bee goes into a garden and picks up nectar from wherever possible. But then a fly is always hovering around dirty substances. An intelligent person should be able to pick up nectar even from a stock of poison. Even if there's poison, should be smart enough to take out nectar. So that should be the attitude of someone who's intelligent. Prabhupada says there are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. And a saintly person is much greater than an ordinary man because he's always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, broadcasting his name and fame, and he will purify this entire polluted atmosphere by giving this transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam. So by giving these different transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, a saintly person will purify this entire atmosphere, and he can change the hearts of people and make them sane in their transactions. So Prabhupada is telling, while preparing this commentation on look at this is also very relevant for our current situation that is happening in the world today, especially with our country, native country, India. So this was the situation when Prabhupada was writing this particular purport, and it is a similar situation right now. Prabhupada says, our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India. You all know what is happening today, yesterday, in the past few days. We are also in a similar situation today. Our neighboring country, China, has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously we were both China and India. They both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between two countries, China and India, and over land that which is not suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel at the slight provocation. That is what has happened today as well. This is not due to the issue in question, but due to the polluted atmosphere. That is the nature of the age of Kali. Slightest provocation, there is fight. Systematically, there is a propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the holy name, fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need to disseminate this message of Bhagavatam. Just like how he said in the preface, It is the need of the hour. We need to give this great transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, to unite all the people in the world. So therefore, it is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the message of Bhagavatam throughout the world, because it is the ultimate good and it is indeed the peace formula that is needed in this world. And India has neglected her duty all these years of propagating the Srimad Bhagavatam, propagating this responsible work, and because of which so much trouble and quarrel is there all over the world. Prabhupada says we are now confident that if Srimad Bhagavatam is received by the learning men of the world, there will be a change in the heart, and naturally the people in general will follow with them, will follow them. The mass of people in general are in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders. So if there is a change in the heart of the leaders, if the Srimad Bhagavatam can be presented to the great leaders, there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. So Prabhupada says we should honestly try to present this literature of Srimad Bhagavatam to revive the God consciousness. We have to re-spiritualize this entire world. And he says our presentation of this matter in adequate knowledge, especially foreign knowledge, will fail. Who has great English today? It's not so easy. It's not very easy. Prabhupada is telling, our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of the society will still accept this due to it being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty Lord. When, such a beautiful analogy, he says, when there is a fire in the house, the inmates of the house, they go out and they seek help from the neighbors. Now, these neighbors, they may be foreigners. They might not even know the language that we are talking, but they will know what the victims are expressing, how, depending on how that person expresses himself. Even if you don't understand the language he's talking, you will know that there is a fire, right? So that is the need of the hour. And Srimad Bhagavatam may not be perfect in the way it is presented in English, but still it is going to resolve the issue in hand. Okay. So after all, it is the technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with language. If the techniques of this great literature is understood by the people of the world, then it is a success. There are too many materialistic activities. People are attacking others on the slightest provocation. That is the age of Kali. The atmosphere is full of corruption, deception, and we have enough literatures that are talking about sense gratification, right? In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. Even in the movies and all, you have this certifications, right? Some parts are all edited. There is a board that decides that certain obscene scenes should be removed. So there is a board that monitors all this. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders or the public want such literature. Yet, this is a marketplace where people want sense gratification. The people, they want to read all this because their mind is very polluted. Under such circumstances, we should present the Srimad Bhagavatam. Everyone wants something. Everybody wants to read something. So let us present the Srimad Bhagavatam to satisfy their hankering for literature. Of course, there is every risk that they might not like it. They might say, I don't want it, take it away. But we should understand that in the beginning, people may not like it, just like when a person is suffering from jaundice. If you give him sugar candy, it will taste bitter, but then he should continue to eat it, and then eventually he'll find the sweet taste. Similarly, we should systematically propagate this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition in this material world. And then eventually, over a period of time, they will have taste for this literature, and all this symptoms of fighting and this age of Kali will automatically cease, because The one-point focus is the glorification of the Supreme Lord. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. Look at Prabhupada's humility. For it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has kindly appeared in this chapter. Prabhupada is seeing Narada really appearing in this chapter. Narada is in front of him in this chapter. And Narada is telling it's okay. He's telling Prabhupada it's okay. Whatever it may be, you present the Bhagavatam and it will be accepted by the human society. So this is the greatness of Prabhupada. This is the humility of Prabhupada. And ultimately, we are all very fortunate to be a part of this history that was presented by Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll have to continue from verse number 12. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Bimal Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji, for a beautiful class. Mataji, I have two questions. One question is, now we had an additional question, right? Why the Srimad Bhagavatam was written at what month? What triggered to write the Srimad Bhagavatam? So can we correlate to text 8 as the answer for that, or?
Now, is that a question in the question?
No. So we had additional questions, right? Why Srimad Bhagavatam was written, what period and what time, right? That after additional 3 questions, this was one of the questions, correct? Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So can we say that
Yeah.
text 8 as the answer for?
Yeah. Why not? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay. And Mataji, the second thing was, I know in chapter 8 there was no chapter 4 there was no memorization verses, right?
Even I remember Kirtida Mataji telling me that, yeah.
Yeah, and chapter 5 we have 2 verses now to memorize.
I think so, but can you see the handbook? I don't have it with me. No,
Okay.
I mean, I have it, but not right now. Maybe one of you can check and tell us if there is any other verse. I don't remember correctly.
Okay.
I have the handbook open. Chapter 3. Sorry, I'm just checking.
Chapter 5.
Yes, I'm checking chapter 5. Chapter 5, chapter 5 is 1.5.10, 11, 17, 18. Yeah, 10, 11, 17, 18.
Notice 17, 16, 17. Tyaktva swadharman charanam bhajen hari. And then 18 also.
Yes.
Okay. We will anyhow send the final list, don't worry. But for now, these can keep working on
Yeah, and
these.
4 there are no verses, correct?
No, right?
In 4 there are no verses. No. After 3 it's 5. So
I can-
Mataji, are we going to? Sorry, Prabhu.
No,
Yeah,
what I'm
we'll
saying is that we can memorize now, so we got now at least.
I
But
just
these
wanted
two
to
are
ask
there.
Sorry, are we going to memorize the verses that are mentioned in the handbook, all of them?
We'll tell you on Friday, right? That's when we are meeting. We'll just try to fine tune it even more. We don't want you to memorize so many verses, so we'll try to reduce it. Yeah.
On Friday, Mataji?
Friday, I'll talk to Kirtida Mataji.
Okay.
Maybe we'll by next Tuesday, or is it too late for you? Or we'll just put a message over the weekend, right? That's easier. We'll put it on the group.
Yes,
So when
Mataji, that'll be great.
these 2 verses are memorization, I thought I got some food for digesting. At least you can memorize these 2 verses, right? Okay.
Yeah, these 2 we can memorize for sure.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that is.
Which 2?
The
10
ones that
Mataji.
we did today, 11 and 12. No?
10, 11.
And then 11th.
Okay. Thank you.
Tulsi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. I had a question about one of the classes I missed, and just one, you mentioned that directly and indirectly empowered incarnations or something like that. So I didn't know what indirectly empowered meant, like the Lord indirectly empowering someone, like, I don't know, Avesha or what, I forgot where it was. Somewhere I read in Prabhupada's purport that directly or indirectly empowered by the Lord.
There is Swayam Avesha and Shakti Avesha. Swayam Avesha, as he himself empowers, like he's fully present, Swayam Avesha, like Shesha is a Swayam Avesha. And Shakti Avesha, someone like a Jiva getting empowered with a particular Shakti, like Parashuram or Prithu, like that.
So directly means that's not empowerment, because that's directly the Lord appearing, right? So I was just confused that empowering means someone who is not Vishnu Tattva. And so I got confused, but maybe I can revisit that and ask my question more appropriately. Maybe I'm not bringing the context. But also here I was wondering that while Vyasdev is a directly incarnation of Supreme Lord, and Narad Muni appears to instruct him, so Narad Muni knows that he's actually the Supreme Lord and I'm acting like a guru? Or why would someone instruct us the Supreme Lord? Like, you would imagine that he knows and he will find like he will figure it out, or he will come up with something, right? So I was just wondering that how that thing is, how it is orchestrated.
Yeah, it's a pastime, of course. Just like sometimes Krishna asks Uddhava for suggestion. He says, okay, now I have to go and attend the Rajasuya Yajna, and Jarasandha should also be killed. So you tell me, what should I do? Krishna knows what to do, but he will ask. Then he takes lessons from Sandipani Muni, and the role of a guru is there. Even in Lord Ramchandra's pastimes, they say literally he has to be reminded every time, you are the Lord, you have to take action, you simply cannot do this. Every time you'll find someone reminding him. It's Leela. Yeah. Sankari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I don't have question, but I was just thinking of two things, two realizations. Basically, the first is when we are saying that even if the grammatical composition may be not so nice or not so correct, not so technically correct, but still these transcendental literatures are perfect in every way. I was just thinking that why not? Because they glorify the all-perfect Lord. So everything related to the all-perfect Lord will remain perfect in any which way they are presented. So I was just thinking in that way. And the second thing is that Prabhupada says something so beautiful, so striking, basically, that what is the root cause of all the quarrel and all the animosity that's been going around? People used to be at least God-fearing. At least in the previous ages, if not God loving, they were at least God fearing, and at least they had that thing that, okay, if we do that sense of accountability towards doing the wrong thing, that they would face some repercussions of that, and that's not going to be good for them. But with all the communism and other ideologies that penetrated into the society, that there is no God. We are like Prabhupada would always give the example that people would go to churches, God, please provide us our bread, and then they would come out and the communists would be there with the truckloads of bread. It's like, did your God give you the bread? But we are giving you the bread. So they really systematically eradicated the whole concept of God being there. So now there is no God fear also. So people can do whatever they can do. So Prabhupada is absolutely, as they say that he's, hitting the nail on the head, that what is the problem? And so he's giving us the solution also. So just appreciating what Prabhupada has given us. So fortunate, and Mataji, amazing class, your enthusiasm to teach us and spread the glory of Bhagavatam. I hope it remains this contagious and I can keep it in my heart. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, and thank you for scrutinizingly finding these words, God-fearing. Very nicely you analyzed it. And I was thinking this God-fearing, it has again transformed into something totally different, where in the name of God, they're doing things, right? Irrelevant, irreligious, even inhumane things in the name of God today. That God-fearing has gone, and they're just using God's names to do many things, unfortunately, today. Yeah. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you, Sankari Mataji. Very
Mataji,
sweet.
that's what no. We had Raj Rishis. At that point of time, these things were not there. As Raj Rishis disappeared, this all problems came up.
Correct. Yeah. Very true.
Oh,
Tulsi
Maruti.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I was
Yes, ma'am.
I was reflecting on one more thing, that as such I don't have a lot of confidence and faith when I distribute books, like in faith in myself, but I have confidence in the words of Prabhupada, and a lot of times I get strength from this particular verse you shared, that Prabhupada says that these literature, Bhagavatam, is there to create a revolution in the lives of the world's misdirected civilization. So I'm kind of borrowing Prabhupada's faith, and his words and his conviction gives me some strength to, give a book to someone. Otherwise, in general, I'm very timid to approach people and all that, but it gives so much strength and faith. I just wanted to share that how these words are so powerful.
Definitely, Mataji. Definitely. Yeah. Only Prabhupada's words can speak. What can we speak? Only his words speak. Yeah. Even to sell his books. You're right.
And
Thank you,
today,
Mataji.
today I got one more liner for myself, is that if you do not present the sublime literature in a purest form, then if Vyasdev could not feel satisfied, how are we going to be satisfied? Mediocre consciousness and mediocre level service or whatever. So I like that oh, if we are that the comparison you made in that if Vyasdev is not satisfied, Narad Muni said that if you are not, then how will the readers become satisfied? So I'm going to write that down. Thank you so much.
Oh, Prabhupada, thank you so much. Very good. Okay. So we'll end here, and Mataji will cover from
Verse 13.
13. Okay. Sounds good. I was trying to load till 15, but I know it was overestimation, especially with summary, it takes time. Okay, so we'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva padithanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namo anantakoti vaishnavvrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to all the assembled devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Preeti
Preeti
Mataji.
Vilas Mataji ki jai. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
It was
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
enlightening session. Thank you again.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to Prabhupada and to you.
I'll take the host, Kirtida, to end the call.